So let's start our next process, and that is, not next process, not next process. We started this process at the start of this lecture, that is determining budget. In this process, what do? We simply aggregate or sum the estimated cost of individual activities or work packages to establish an authorized cost baseline. Cost baseline is something that is approved, that is authorized by the sponsor for the project manager to use on the project, right? And what is the advantage of this? What benefit do we get from this establishing a cost baseline or establishing a budget for that matter? This cost baseline actually gives us a reference for performance measurement, right? So against this baseline, we can actually monitor and control our performance, right? Is it clear?
यस सर, लेकिन ये स्लाइड हमारे पास नहीं है।
Sorry?
सर ये कौन सा स्लाइड है, कौन सा सेक्शन नंबर कौन सा?
Yeah, just look at the start of this lecture, right?
Okay.
Like in मेरे third, fourth या fifth slide होगी determining budget. It would be
Okay.
there.
The
What
slide
the
number 3, yes.
slide number 3, right? The slides that I have shown you earlier, they were, just added for the purpose of this online session only. Actually, I didn't want to, go to and fro, so I've added those slides earlier at the start of this lecture. So, anyways, okay. So now, as I told you in the last lecture, when we were studying the estimate cost process, that was preparing estimate, and we said one thing there, that we don't prepare the estimate once in a project. Rather, we keep revising our estimates over various like periodical intervals, let's say after 3 months, after every month, or depending on this size of the project, we keep refining our estimates. So whenever we will refine our estimate, obviously our cost baseline would also be revised. This can either be decided in the cost management plan, that will revise our cost baseline every 2 months, every 1 month, every 3 months, or sometimes our situation or our performance on the project, it requires us to revise the baseline. For example, if there were certain activities planned during October, because of some delays, those activities have now moved to the November or December. In that case, obviously our cost baseline will have to be revised, right? Is it clear? Okay, I suppose this is clear, right? So what do we get out of this process? Do you remember the ITTO structure that was being used in sixth edition? I've told you one: input, tools and techniques, and output. There are certain inputs, certain documents, certain considerations that you keep in mind, and you apply some tools, methods, models on those inputs, and at the end you get something at the output. Do you remember that?
Jesus.
Okay, so what do we get at the output of this process? We get cost baseline. This is one thing. We get cost baseline. Second thing, we get project funding requirements, and I hope you are clear about funding requirements now.
Yes.
Okay, and then obviously there are certain updates that we do, certain documents or artifacts or plans are updated as a result of this process. So now let's see what are those outputs. We have already covered or explained what the cost baseline is. It is an approved version, right? The cost baseline is approved and it is given to the on the project. This is one thing. Second thing, this cost baseline is time phased. What do we mean by time phased here?
तो ये हम
Sir, there is a
जितना
set tenure. वो
Sorry?
तो
टाइम
जैसे
के ऊपर
yearly होता है to your
Exactly, exactly.
tenure
We
fixed tenure.
exactly. We just saw that our activities are planned over certain period of time. And accordingly, we added up like monthly budget in the example that I showed you in the beginning, we actually planned our monthly budgets for that. So cost baseline is an approved version. This is one thing. Second thing, it is mapped over the schedule of the activities. That means these are time phased, but these do not include management reserves. Neither in sixth edition nor in the seventh edition, management reserves are not part of it, right? Now, since it is approved, that means we cannot make any changes in the cost baseline at our own. Project manager or team members, they just can't, change the cost baseline without formal approval. Now, for formal approval, actually, there's a process of change control management or control procedure in which all change requests are initiated by various stakeholders that we want to make certain changes. And then there's a change control board, CCB, change control board.
Sir, regardless the change is big or small,
Sorry, yeah, regardless of that,
regardless the change is big
regardless,
or
yeah,
small.
exactly. Actually, in the change management plan, we define everything, that how changes would be managed on project, right? How changes would be managed. And for that, they say that, okay, there would, let's say there would be a change control board, or there would be a change control committee to whom all changes will be, put forward. And then change control board would consider that what is the impact of those change requests on overall project or its objectives. And then they accordingly either approve the change request, or they reject the change request, or they can defer the change request for some time, and they say that, okay, for now we are we're just deferring this request, and we'll relook into this request maybe later at some time. So change
correct.
control.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if there is a change
Yes.
in the management reserve, do we need an approval again?
Though, yes, management reserves, you see, this is with the management, obviously. This is with the management, and management would decide it. It is beyond the control of project manager. Correct? Project
ऐसे यही
manager. Hmm.
कि यहाँ पर
Project.
जो
Look. Let me explain you. Let me explain you. Look, I gave you an example. Sajid asked a question there, that what if, like, this is Barrier business, let's say Barrier University wants to construct a boys hostel here, or 10 million ka project, it was awarded to a builder or construction company. And that construction company told their project team to complete this project in 7 million. So apparently, let's say management decided that we'll have 2 million as a profit, and they kept 1 million as management reserve. Now, let's say, because of any reason, uh, you know, uh, project manager requires more than this 1 million from management reserve, then it would be management's decision actually. Project manager does not have to do anything with this. It would be management decisions, a decision that whether they are ready to, give away some amount from their profit or not. Accordingly, they will decide that whether we should continue the project or not. This decision would come from the management. Project manager would just tell that this is the reason because of which, uh, you know, mm, uh, because of this. For example, suddenly in last 2 months, we have seen an exponential rise in prices. Let's say our contract was made in December, so now it is very obvious that it is beyond the control of project manager. The prices has gone very high. And because of that, we require something extra, like over and above this management reserve. This management reserve was neither in the control of project manager earlier. And it was management who decided that they'll keep this 1 million as a management reserve. Now, if management wants to decide that we'll keep 2 million as a management reserve, it's up to them. Is it clear?
जी सर
Okay, so now this once we establish this cost baseline, it gives us a it provides us with a basis for comparison to the actual results, and that is actually the advantage of having cost baseline. We'll study this thing in the control cost process, that how do we compare our actual performance or actual result with the baseline, and how do we find variances, or we evaluate our performance, and how corrective actions are initiated. We will study this thing in the next process, right? Now, since the cost estimates that make up the cost baseline are directly tied to the scheduled activities, this enables a time-phased view of the cost baseline I've already covered. And generally, this make an S curve. They call this curve as an S curve. Now, project management somehow literature is very fond of declaring everything as an S curve. So this is generally the shape of the curve of the baseline that we generally get, right? But it is not necessary that you get an S curve all the time, but many a times cost baseline is also called as S curve. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now here, this line is very important. Now let me tell you one thing, and please note it down somewhere with you. This requires a lot of explanation actually. Look, many of you might be or must be actually managing projects in their organizations, but you don't know what an earned value management is. Like, I don't think that, except a couple of people who have already used what we call as earned value management, rest of you must be preparing your budgets and baselines uh, without using the earned value management system, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now many of you, like I'm saying that if many of you are not using earned value management system, you are studying that system now in this degree, then what you were using? You were obviously using some reference. You were preparing some reference for your performance measurement. Let's say you were only saying that, okay, this is the amount that we will require in this month. This is the amount that will require in next month. This is the amount that will require in next month, and so on. This system of estimation does not include the earned value management philosophy. Now, what is earned value management philosophy? Obviously, I'll teach you in the next lecture. But in general, I'm just, doing this blank screen is in front of you now. If let's say this is a wall of 10 meter that you have to construct. This is a wall that you have to construct, right, or build. Now, let's say this is 10-meter wall. And we say that for this to build this 10-meter wall, we have approved a budget of 10,000. Now, this approved budget for this work is called as planned value. This approved budget for this work is called as
Plan
planned
value.
value, right? So and let's say we have to prepare or build this wall during first week of the project. During first week of the project. Now there are many ways to narrate this fact. For example, I can say, what is the planned value for first week? It is 10,000.
Hmm.
What is the planned value to build a wall? It is 10,000.
In 1 week, yes.
And what is the approved budget for this wall?
10,000.
What is the approved value for or approved budget for first week?
10,000.
Okay, so that means planned value is the approved budget for a planned work, right?
Right. Mm.
Okay, now everyone is with me. These are very important concepts that you need to understand. Okay, now let's say after 1 week, we could only build 8 meter of the wall, right? We could complete only 8 meter of the wall. So in earned value management system, we say that the approved budget for the completed work is called as earned value. So what is the approved budget for this work that we have completed?
Eight,
10,000.
8,000, because we could not complete this whole wall. We could complete only 8 meter of wall, right?
mm,
So that, and how much budget we had kept for 8 meter? 8,000.
8,000.
Like for 10 meter, we had kept 10,000. For 8 meter,
But
we
sir,
have
you did
kept.
not define this before. आपने इस तरह मीटर वाइज तो डिफाइन नहीं किया था. आपने फुल लमसम पूरे प्रोजेक्ट का कहा था कि 10 मीटर की वॉल जो है वो
Okay,
10,000 में
okay,
होगी.
okay,
You
okay.
did
It
not
could be.
decide कि 1 meter will be
Yeah.
1,000. You did
Okay,
not
okay.
say
Look,
that.
okay. Listen to me. That. Okay. Okay. Fine. I'm saying it now, right? Is it okay? I can define anything, right? Look, whatever the case may be, let's take an example that this distribution of funds is symmetrical, right? And if it is not symmetrical, even then there would be some amount that would be associated with 8 meters. Even if not 8,000, there would be some amount, right? I'm just giving you an example that hypothetically, let's assume that 10-meter wall is built in 10 meter and 8-meter wall is built in 8 meter, right? The estimate for 8-meter wall is, let's say, 8,000. Is it clear?
Yes.
So that
Yes.
the the amount of work that we have, sorry, the amount of money that we have approved for the completed work is called as earned value. That means out of this 10,000 work, this work was of 10,000, and out of this we have completed a work of 8,000. Is it clear? Is it clear?
एक्चुअली सर हम 10 meters को 1 week में 10,000 में ले रहे हैं ना, तो अगर हम इसका परसेंटेज ऑफ वर्क देखें तो उसके
हाँ,
हिसाब
तो
से परसेंटेज
ऐसे
भी
ही
हम
ऐसे ही
बांट करें.
ऐसे ही है मतलब लाइक हाँ एग्जैक्टली अब आपको वो मैं कह रहा था कि कंप्लीशन पे बताऊंगा दैट वो बर्न रेट ठीक है सो एक्चुअली वी हैव अर्नड आउट ऑफ 10,000 worth of work 10,000 ka kaam that I had to complete in first week. Out of this, I have completed a work of 8,000 so far. Is it clear to everyone? Okay.
Yes.
Now, now I will check my pocket that how much I have spent actually to build this 8-meter wall. This 8,000 is not that I have actually spent to build this 8 meter. This 8,000 was the approved budget for 8-meter wall, right?
Right.
So when I'll try to check my accounts or my pocket, or I have some invoices with me or whatever, based on that, I say that let's say this work is completed actually
Actually,
in let's say 9,000.
poor budget.
This this 9,000 is called as my actual cost. Is it clear? This
अच्छा अगर मैं
9,000,
डिवाइड
look,
कर दूं
look,
इसको एक
जी,
समझने
जी,
की
जी,
कोशिश कर रही हूँ.
जी,
हमने
जी,
प्लान वैल्यू रखी थी कि 10,000 खर्च होंगे
ठीक है. For whole wall, for a 10-meter wall.
फॉर द 10 meter वॉल. इसमें से
Hmm.
हमने 8 meters कंप्लीट किया तो
Hmm.
हमारी
Right.
अर्नड वैल्यू है 8,000
Okay,
और
look,
एक्चुअल
look. Yeah, actual 9,000. You're right. Now let me put it in another way. What was the approved budget for 10-meter wall that I had to complete in 1 week?
10,000.
Approved 10,000. And what was the approved budget for completed work?
10,000.
8,000. No, eight completed work. Completed
हाँ,
work. That is
8,000.
8,000. So that means, okay, fine. I could not build this whole wall. I could not complete all of the planned work, but I could complete 80% of it, right? And I say, okay, fine. If I have completed 80% of it, then actually this should have been done in 8,000.
8,000, yes.
But when I check my pocket or accounts or invoices, I find that I have spent 9,000 to build this 8,000 worth of wall. Actually, this should have been completed in 8,000 according to the approved budgets. So that, okay, please keep yourself muted. So I have spent one extra thousand on this. I have spent one extra thousand on it. Although I haven't spent all of 10,000 that was planned for this wall, but since I have completed on 8 meter of wall for which I was allowed to spend only 8,000, but unfortunately I spent 9,000 on that. So now I'm still left with 2 meter of wall for which I was allotted a budget of 2000, but unfortunately I only have 1000 left out of it because I have consumed one extra thousand in this 8 meter. So for remaining work I have only 1000, right? So for a work for for a work for which I had kept 2000 in my budget, now I have to, okay please keep ये mute कर लिया करें. For a work for which I had kept 2000 in my budget, now I have to complete that work in 1000. Right? Is it clear? बाकी
Yes,
भी
sir.
जाग रही हैं इधर ही. Okay, ये सिर्फ साजिद और मैम ही पढ़ रही हैं. Okay, so now this mechanism
सर मैं
in which
1000 पे रुक गया हूँ थोड़ा सा, उससे मुझे बताएं 1000 कुछ कहलाता है? Is it
नहीं
called
नहीं
something?
ओवर बजट वी वेंट 1000 by over budget, right? वो कहलाता है, वो बहुत लंबी चीजें हैं. We'll talk about that in the
No,
coming
no, I'm
lectures.
saying कि अभी हमारे पास 2 मीटर रहते हैं और हमने 2 मीटर पूरे करने पर हमारे पास
जी
1000.
जी
Are
जी
we
जी
not
जी
lacking
हाँ
the
हाँ
budget?
यस 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 वी आर. उसके बारे में कुछ और चीजें हैं. विल वो बहुत ज्यादा टर्म्स हो जाएंगी अभी एक लेक्चर के लिए. अभी आप फिलहाल इन 3 पे करें. यस देयर आर 10 अदर टर्म्स दैट आई हैव टू टीच, राइट? जस्ट डोंट वरी. सो आपको ये चीज समझ आ गई. व्हाट इज अ प्लान्ड वैल्यू? नाउ कैन समवन टेल मी other than these three people जो who are participating, what is a planned value? Okay,
So the
that's why
planned
you're
value is the one जो start में आप project complete कर दी, जो आपको task मिलता है, जो उसके लिए
oh,
approved होता है budget.
okay,
That is the
that is
planned
planned.
value.
And what is earned value?
सर earned value जो आप जब जो project आप start करते हैं, जो आप complete करते हैं actual, जो actual complete
Budget
करते हैं, जो
budget
cost
kept.
उसकी approve
हाँ
होती है.
नहीं उसकी cost approve होती है. Yes, the budget approved for the completed work. And what is actual
For the
cost?
actual work, for the actual
The
work ना,
for that actual work. And what is actual
for actual
cost?
work.
It is the amount
सर
that you
actual cost
actually
जितनी
spend.
actual लगी भी होती है.
बस वो है. Very right. Like let's say take this example. There's a wall, same wall, 10-meter wall for which I was allotted a budget of 10,000, right? And I had to complete this wall in 1 week. And at the end of 1 week, when I check, I have not, put a single brick here. I have not built this wall at all, like zero. Okay. And I have spent 5,000 on chai pani only, on having tea and lunches. So here I have actually earned nothing, but my actual cost is 5,000. Correct? My earned value is zero. My earned value is zero.
Yes.
I've done nothing, but I've spent somewhere, like I've spent on recreation only, right? So this is a concept of actual cost, earned value, and planned value. And according to earned value management system, look, according to the earned value management system, we take into consideration the amount of work that we have completed. This is earned value, right? We compare everything with the earned value. I'll teach you how we compare it. But look, if I don't take into account the earned value and I just say that, okay, for first week I had kept 10,000, but actually I have used 9,000. So I would be very happy that in 1 week I had kept 10,000 for it, but out of it I only used 9,000. I saved 1,000, isn't it? If I don't take into account the completed work or the earned value, right? Is
Right.
it clear? So earned value management system, it focuses on a comparison of your performance using how much you have completed. The work that you have completed, that is very critical in earned value management system. But if I'm not using earned value management system, I might be using a system somewhat like this, that during first week, I would require 10,000. During second week, I would require, let's say 20,000. During third week, I would require this much amount. And I would be, very happy if I spent 9,000 in the first month without taking into consideration how much I have completed. Is it clear? In
सर
journal,
अर्नड वैल्यू नहीं देख रहे ना, इससे फिर हम
हाँ नहीं
अर्नड
देख रहे, हाँ like nahi dekh rahe, because we are not using the earned value management system. We are only using how much budget is planned for the first month or first week, how much budget is planned for the second week, and how much we have actually used. We are not considering the earned value. So many of the organizations that do not use earned value management system, they do not take into account this the work that is completed. They just compare what was planned versus what you have actually spent. That's it. And
सर
that,
यहाँ पे एक बोलना चाहूंगी।
जी जी मैम,
सर ये जो आप वीक्स की बात कर रहे हैं ना, यूजुअली हम लोग अपने क्वार्टर के ऊपर एनालिसिस
क्वार्टर
करते
हाँ,
हैं।
बिल्कुल
तो
ऐसे ही
जब
है।
हम क्वार्टर पे करते हैं तो ऐसा होता है कि जैसे हमारा स्टाफ हायर्ड है, हमने उसकी सैलरीज देनी होती हैं, तो वो
बिल्कुल
पहले 2 महीने में निकल जाती है, लेकिन उसके अगेंस्ट काम जो होता है वो डिलीवरेबल अभी पूरा नहीं हुआ होता।
ठीक
तो
हो गया।
हम जो जब हमारा एनालिसिस का टाइम आता है लास्ट मंथ में, तो वी मेक श्योर कि जो हमारी फर्स्ट सेकंड मंथ की एक्टिविटीज है वो थर्ड मंथ से पहले खत्म हो जाएं,
राइट
ताकि
राइट,
हमारी कॉस्ट जितनी लगी है, यानी हमारी जितनी
उसके
एक्चुअल
इक्वलेंट
कॉस्ट है, उसके
ऐसे ही है,
इक्विवेलेंट वैल्यू हमें मिल जाए। तो इसमें
ऐसे ही है,
अगर प्रोजेक्ट लंबा हो तो हमारे पास इस तरह के थोड़े से स्पेसेस आ जाते हैं।
ऐसे ही है, ऐसे ही। You're right, you're right, but you are not using earned value again, right? You're not using earned value again. आप सिर्फ उसको एक और मेथड से you are trying to ensure or resolve that anomaly actually. But what
राइट।
if that activity is not completed? Then what? You see, then you have to shift the funds. Actually, you just carry forward the funds, right? So that means earned value management is not the only method of managing projects, but earned value management method, if you are using it, it provides you a very good picture, and you would see that once you learn it, you would see that this earned value management system, it provides you with a wonderful mechanism without making such adjustments जो आप कह रही हैं, correct?
सर उसमें ये होता है ना कि हम ईवीएम को आप जैसे वीक जो पूरे प्रोजेक्ट के ऊपर यूज कर रहे हैं ना, जैसे 1 वीक
Mhm.
का आपने टाइम दिया
Mm.
था,
Okay, now you
अगर
can make it quarters. You can do that in quarters as well. Like that would depend on the
जब
size of
करते
the
हैं तो
project.
ठीक, तो हम जब क्वार्टर में करते हैं तो उस क्वार्टर से पहले हम कोशिश करते हैं, अगर हमारी ट्रेनिंग्स रह गई हैं या हमारी
ऐसे ही,
सप्लाईज रिक्वायरमेंट
ऐसे ही,
रह गया
ऐसे
तो
ही.
कर लेते हैं।
Very right, very
अदरवाइज
right.
या यू आर राइट।
Otherwise, that doesn't work. Huh. So now point is that it is not only the earned value management that is used. There are many other mechanisms as well, right? So this is one thing. When you don't use earned value management, in that case, now I'm making it blank again. If you're not using earned value management, then we generally plan or make a budget or make a cost baseline such that, okay, first quarter or first month or first week may I would require this much, second month may I would require this much, and so on, right? So their cost baseline have a different picture. But if you are using, now this is the point that I wanted to highlight. If you are using earned value management, if you are using earned value management, then this cost baseline, the baseline that you just saw, this one, let's say, this cost baseline not only gives you a cost baseline, but it also gives you a scope baseline and the schedule baseline and the cost baseline, all three baselines combined together. Like, what do we say? I asked you how much worth of work is planned during first week. What did you say? You said that 10,000 worth of work is planned during first month. So you are telling me that a total work or scope of 10,000, and 10,000 is the cost, is planned during first month. That is the schedule. So we have combined the work, that is scope, the cost, and schedule all in terms of money. Like we in earned value management system, we convert the scope and schedule and cost, everything in terms of money. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So combined together, when you are using earned value management system, there the cost baseline combines all these three baselines into a single baseline, and combination of scope baseline, schedule baseline, and cost baseline combined together is known as performance measurement baseline. Is it clear? Is it clear? I
Yes,
repeat
sir.
it again. I repeat it
Yes,
again.
sir.
When we combine three baselines into a single baseline using earned value management system, that cost baseline is also your performance measurement baseline, because this performance measurement baseline is a combination of scope, schedule, and cost. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here now, if you read this line, if you read this line, for projects that use earned value management, for projects that use earned value management, the cost baseline is referred to as performance measurement baseline. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, cost estimates may need to reconcile with overall budget constraints before the cost baseline is approved. Now, look, there are two types of constraints that can be there in the charter. For example, they may say that total budget, like in case of that hostel wala project, we said we were allowed in the charter that you cannot use more than 7 million. Fine. That was our overall budget. But this, let's say, these are the activities that are planned during first week or first month or first quarter, depending on the size, then second, and so on. Now, this is, let's say, first week or first month. This is second week or second month. When we add up the amounts here, this becomes 3 million, oh, sorry, 2 million. This becomes 3 million. This is 1 million, let's say, and or zero point 0.5 million, and this is again zero point 0.5 million. When you were preparing this baseline, you saw that this month has an amount, required amount of 3 million, correct?
Right.
In your charter, you might have some limitations, like you cannot spend or plan a work that requires more than 2 million in any month. So what would happen here now? First month is okay. We have a required funding of 2 million here. But what about second month? Total is still 7 million. You see, total is still 7 million. But this monthly limitation is being violated here. In charter, they mentioned that your project has to be completed in 7 million, and for any given month, funding requirement should not be more than 2 million. So plan your project accordingly. In this particular case, our second month requires more than what this limitation, correct?
Yeah, correct.
So what would happen as a result? We'll have to reschedule some of the activities to the next month, so that we the requirement of funds should be within this limit of 2 million, right? So what would happen as a result? Our schedule would be delayed. Project would be, you know, the schedule will get longer. Is it clear?
Ji,
Yes.
sir.
Okay, so now read this line. Cost estimates may need to be reconciled with any overall budget constraints, or you can write one more thing, or periodic budget constraints. Sometimes we have constraints, periodic constraints as well. Not only, or like we were talking about, if what if we require more than 7 million, what would happen? Now, this 7 million was allotted to us in Project Charter, but right now in planning, we are trying to prepare a cost baseline, and we saw that our budget is exceeding this 7 million. That means we have to do something about it to come within this overall budget constraint. Not only overall budget constraint, but as well over the periodic, budget constraints as well. Is it clear to everyone?
सर मेरी क्वेश्चन है कि
जी
अगर
जी।
हम ये वाली 2 मिलियन की लिमिट के अंदर लेकर आ रहे हैं तो
हम्म।
जो नेक्स्ट मंथ है उसके अंदर हम उसको ऐड नहीं करेंगे हमारा
हाँ हाँ हाँ,
स्केड्यूल
ऐसे schedule will move forward, and because of that it is quite possible that our project is delayed. Now, you see, you are doing this all during planning. We are trying to establish an baseline, and before getting the approval, you see, before the cost baseline is approved, we need to see that our total limit that is given to us in charter and our periodic limit that is given to us in charter, these both conditions should be met. only then we'll get an approval. Correct?
Okay.
Right? Okay. So now this was all about the baseline. Now you can like we have already covered this, how to prepare the baseline. You already have covered this point. Now what is funding requirement? Total funding requirement and the periodic funding requirement, I've already covered it, right? Do you remember
Hmm.
that?
जी sir.
Okay, and that was in incremental steps. Do you remember these
Yes sir.
steps? Got ठीक है ना. अच्छा, then total funds required include the cost estimates is part of it, contingency reserves are part of it, as well as the management reserves. है ना? So funding requirements may include any sources of funding as well. Like if on your project uh, obtaining resources or finances is also part of this. In that case, from where you will get these funds, from which bank or which donor you are going to receive these funds, that is, or which investor would contribute towards, acquisition of these funds. This is also mentioned here, that okay, for first month or from sorry, in the first month we'll get 2 million, but from where this 2 million would come, or actually so and so investor would give us, okay, fine. And from here, next month again we'll require 2 million, and from where this would come, we can also include these details here in the funding requirements. Is it clear?
Yes sir.
Okay, now funding requirements estimate should be reconciled with any funding limits. I've already told you how to reconcile the funding limits, right?
Yes sir.
Now I'm giving you a break of let's say kitna? Again 15 minutes. 15 minutes and we'll resume exactly at 7:50. Please be back
और यहाँ
by
पे
then.
आठ
Sir?
बजे 8 बजे यहाँ पे लाइट जाती है। अगर मैं अल्टरनेट सोर्स चेक करूंगा सर, अगर कुछ हुआ तो,
No, otherwise
वरना
recording है ना? Recording है, right?
ठीक।
Okay, okay. Allah Hafiz.